little volume button, and often that's muted. So for some reason it just does that on default. So I hope you're going to figure that out. Or I'll just send you a message. Actually, we're not going to be able to hear what I'm saying. So look, for those of you who are new here, welcome, and also for those of you who have been watching for in the past, thank you for joining again. My name's Darren Yeh, and I'm an artist over in Melbourne, Victoria, and I run these live workshops every month to show you how to improve your watercolors, show you my process, some of the way that I structure my paintings as well. One of the things that I do that's a bit different is that I really try to tell you while I'm painting my process, how I'm thinking and the decisions I'm making. I also go through my vision and what I kind of want to achieve in the painting. I think that's one of the most important things, like having a goal or an idea of what you want to end up with. So that's something different that I do. So I do talk a fair bit, but I hope that by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand my process and the way that I think while I paint. And I think that's the most important thing. If you understand the way that I think, you can hopefully apply that to your own paintings, and you won't need my help. So these are just some of my paintings, some of the recent ones I've done. Picked out a few of these. And for those of the members on Patreon, some of you would know I made about 8 posts last night for some new courses. I was working on these uploads for I don't know how many hours, 8 hours or something like that, just to get a few of these courses up. So here's some of my work, and you can see the general style that I use. I've got a loose style. My paintings don't usually take too long. For some reason, even if I try to paint really slow, ends up going still for about an hour and a half or so. But that's kind of what we are looking at. And some of these were for previous workshops as well. This one was Cusco in Peru that we did. Someone requested this one. I can't remember who. And, we've got some kind of natural landscapes and stuff like that. Today, we are actually going to be doing a natural landscape mixed with some buildings. So I think that's a really good combination. Allows you to get a bit of a story in there as well. So so let's just put some of these paintings up so that you have an idea of the style that I paint in. David's asking, how do I get the photo? It's in the Facebook event. It's in the Facebook. I think we've just posted it. That's cool. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, so I'll just make sure I bring up my photo as well, guys. What I recommend is just to have it up on the side of the screen, or if you've got a separate device, have that reference photo up on that device. Usually when I stream, unless you've got the video full screen and a pretty large screen, it can be a little bit tricky to see what's going on. During the demonstration, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Feel free to just write something in the chats. I always do my best to get back to you, and it may not be always, it might take me a little while. Sometimes if I'm in the middle of doing something, I just won't check the screen for a little bit, but I will continually look back and give you some advice if you need. So that's just for those of you who haven't been here before. So the reference photo today is an interesting one, and I think it's, on first appearances, I thought it was a fairly simple reference photo, but actually there's quite a lot of detail in here. But we're going to simplify it down and hopefully get it done in about an hour. All you're going to need is just a pencil, and I have to lower the brightness on my light a little bit, because when I draw in pencil, sometimes it's difficult for you guys to see on the camera. So where the moon says I can't have another image after watching and no printer, I'll wing it. Yeah, that's all right. If you can't see the reference, you can always just copy me as well. Let me see if I can pop it up on the screen. You should be able to see it on the top right hand corner of the screen, like a tiny little representation of the photo. I don't want to make it too big because then it starts covering up covering up what I'm doing. Okay. Fantastic. So let's get started with the drawing. And the reason I like this scene was because we've got this combination of it's like a traditional sort of house. And I think this is somewhere actually in Ukraine. Coincidentally, I went and looked up a few reference photos and typed in barn house or something like that. But what I like about this house is that you've got a nice element of light. You can see on the top of the hut house, and then underneath it, and you can see this lovely fence here on the left hand side that we can do something called negative painting, which is basically cutting around the fence and leaving the light behind. So I use 2 steps when I'm painting. So let's firstly get in an indication of the bottom of the house. So we want to look at where the house finishes on the scene, and really it doesn't leave us much room if you look at it. I mean, it's only like there. So I'm thinking I might want to just increase that a bit, put the house a little bit further back, just put in a line. I mean, yeah, I'd say about a quarter of the way through the page, starting from the bottom. So if you've got, say, halfway through the page here, just divide this bit into half and draw a general guiding line. And what this is for, basically, is just to get in an indication of the bottom of that house. Okay, and we've actually got it's right in the center of the frame. Not exactly. It's kind of like off center, but you can see the top of it. It's kind of like this triangular shape. Okay, so I'm gonna just get in a quick little indication of it like this triangular top part of that rooftop. And it's so detailed, I really don't want to get in every little bit of detail, just have enough in there. Okay, yeah, coming around like that. So around this in the center of not exactly in the center, it's kind of left of the center area. And I don't like putting things too close to the middle of the scene, actually. Sometimes composition wise, it's better to have things kind of in the it's kind of like photography. You got the rule of thirds, where you put your subjects or areas of interest in the thirds where the areas overlap. So I'm just feeling out at the moment where I'm going to put everything, and these lines may not stick around, but the side of it, there's quite an interesting look at the bottom of the house. There's all these little but let's just draw in the house first. So we've got this, we've got the tree. Okay, I'm just going to put in the indication of a kind of tree here to the left. Okay, all these little details in here, but I'm gonna try to simplify, guys. That. So you basically have got that, that triangular sort of shape. Let me see if I can zoom in. I hope you guys can see okay. If I zoom in a bit, that make it a little bit better. It's kind of tricky. Pencil on camera is difficult to see. Okay, but I will draw actually a bit darker for this. If you're at home, keep your pencil work fairly light. Just makes it easier. There's that bit at the back there. Okay, coming down, it's like a darkness underneath, and we've got some kind of, I don't know what this is. It's like a bench or a seating area or something out the front of there. Okay, just put that in, something like that. The detail in it isn't so important, but the light, the indication of light on it is. And so we have to just leave out a tiny bit of light for later. Just draw it. There's some kind of like ladder here, isn't it? Like a little simplified ladder. That's no good. Let me redraw that. Yeah, there. Okay. That. There's these little rungs on the ladder. Look, as long as I indicate it, I just want to indicate it there. The main thing is this little indication of light on this seat or whatever it is there. It's kind of like on the front of the house. Interesting. And it gets smaller here on the back maybe. When we start doing the painting, we can actually add in extra details. Don't worry about getting in everything perfect. There we go. The one at the back's smaller, and you will find that, you know, in paintings, drawings, you know, as you move towards the back of a scene, objects get smaller and often less detailed too. If you're talking about things like mountains and stuff as well, they tend to fade and go a little bit more bluish, a bluish sort of tinge to them. So yes, it's an interesting sort of seat. Must be like a traditional type of house. I don't know what it is, but I like it. And you can see inside the, you know, there's actually like some darker areas in here, which I'll just pencil in again. That. That. And it kind of goes over to the left like that. Okay. You see, actually, it's really, you know, a lot of that side of the building here is obfuscated, covered by this tree here. Okay. I always thought, I was looking at it, this reference picture before. I was thinking maybe we could put in some, like a figure or someone, something just sort of, maybe someone just walking across. You can see actually there's a little shadow on top of the house there as well. You know, there's lots of this thatching and stuff on the roof, which we will just imply a bit later. Okay, but for the time being, just put in some little basic details generally, like that. The bottom. Okay, so you see behind the house, there are these kind of trees. So let's just put a broad indication of like a tree here. Not only that, but you have like a larger tree on this side that just goes all the way out to the right. Okay, so I'm just getting that in one big shape. Okay, and this tree here sort of maybe stops about there, doesn't it? Okay, that's the bottom of it, and we're guessing that it just comes here and casts that shadow on top of that building. It's got to make sense. In the background as well, there's a fair bit of light over there in the distance, so you know, leaving a bit of that light on the ground is important. But just getting this large tree shape here. And just a reminder, guys, if you've just jumped on and are watching, if you have any questions, drop them in the chats. Let me know where you're from as well. We'd love to hear, if there's anyone new here, or if you have any questions, like things that you just want to know about watercolors. I'm happy to answer them while I'm streaming, and everything looks to be good so far with the stream. I think we are all good, but everyone busy drawing, I think. Alrighty. There's just this large shadow, and it actually comes outside of the scene, like across the page like that. There's even a shadow that comes through here, and a nice little path. I'll just indicate this path. And the reason why I moved the house up a little bit was I wanted to put in more of this indication of this kind of path coming into the scene. And with that, potentially add on a figure, a couple of figures or something. Here's maybe a person. Just start with the head. and the shoulders and the body. Okay, and maybe I'll just get in a leg like this and a leg here in the front. Have a look. How's the proportions looking? Not bad. Okay, the head's a bit big. You know, just a simple figure walking into the scene, and I'm putting the head roughly roughly here where we've drawn that like 1/4 mark. Okay, it's better. Got to put in a neck. People have necks. Here we go. Walking in. Sometimes I kind of thought to myself, but you know, maybe it could be walking a figure, could be walking a dog or something, like that. Dog. Indication of the figure with the dog. Something like that. Okay, we might change it later, but we'll see how we go. Let's have a go and put in this fence. I really like this fence. Just gonna mute the microphone sometimes when I clear my throat. Here we go. Fence. Let's get a bit lighter first. And funny enough, like the thing that attracted me to this scene was the fence. Because yeah, I just like the contrast, just like the light bouncing off the fence. I've always had this obsession with light. I don't know why, but it's a good thing when you're talking about watercolors, especially, or you know, painting or any type of I suppose art form where you have to indicate light and be creative about it. I'm not so happy with this side of the roof, but I don't know. We'll see how we go. I don't think it's a huge issue. So the fence goes all the way here. Jeez, it gets bigger as well as we get near to the front of the scene. So I can just draw a few little indications like that and just cut it into little segments. You don't have to draw the fence exactly as it appears this way. You know, I've actually added in another like wooden pole in the center somewhere. Okay, so we've got just a little bit more going on. But the important thing is, yeah, I'm just going to show you some negative painting with these bits and pieces here. Take your time with the drawing as well. I've started to, especially in these demonstrations, I really go a lot slower than I would normally for your benefit, and also, well, also for me to try to slow down what I'm doing. I've always, for some reason, unconsciously been in a rush to do everything. I've got some chats. Nancy, Northern California's wine country. Great to see you, Nancy. And I'm still learning. I've heard of all these states. Never been to the States, though. Would love to one day. Kathy from Alabama, the US. I know that's somewhere in the South. Sue Stratton says, "Love your accent in Kentucky. Thanks for this." No problem, Sue. And yeah, I think some of you Southerners from the US have some wicked accents. So let's go put in these these bits of wood, as you can see here. That's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of outlining these bits of wood, and why I'm taking like a while to do this, because for me, I think this is the part that I really like. That I'd like to focus on, the light coming through the fence, having like a bit of darkness behind the fence. Often also when you start painting, you can actually lose those pencil marks. So you know, I draw these in a little bit darker where I want to make sure that there's some detail. And for those of you guys who have been watching me for some time, you know that there's I do some line and wash, which is basically pen. I use some black pen to draw instead of pencil, and then I use watercolors over the top of that. And often you'll find that the pen shows through quite easily, and you can achieve I wouldn't say same effect, but a kind of similar effect with when you draw quite dark. I mean, look at all this stuff on top of the roof. This is quite intense, but look, we'll simplify it down. You don't have to draw in all this stuff on top of the roof if you don't want to. It's just quite a lot going on there. I don't think I will. Just want to get the shape of the roof in, like that. Okay, the bottom of it, kind of like, where is it? There's like a separation here, isn't there? That's interesting. Like, it comes out like that somewhere. Okay, not the most detailed, but we don't want to be anyway. So there we go. We've got the fence. We've got, here's some indication of grass. I'll show you guys how to do some grass later as well. This will be fun. That tree there, there's another tree here. A lot of this stuff really, all this stuff doesn't matter. This is just a big shape. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a big shape of stuff. And we'll get into detail and I'll show you how to do that. But normally I paint in 2 layers, and I'll show you how to do that. Someone there, they're walking the dog, a bit of the house there, kind of thinking, should we put some other person here? Or do we want to keep it simple? You know what? Normally I put 2 people in there, but I'll just leave 1 person in for today. Let's keep it easy. A bit more simple, yeah? Now, just to remind myself as well, I'm just going to draw in the shape of a shadow coming in, like this. Something like that. So it's like a shadow coming across the scene from an object, probably a tree, on the outside of the scene. So I was talking to you guys earlier about your vision, and that's one of the most important things when you're learning how to paint, and even afterwards, when you're at a sufficient level to in terms of your techniques. Vision is basically having an idea in your head, understanding like where you want to go with your painting. And for me, I really like the shadows. I like the fence. I want to tell the story of a person just walking through this scene, basically. I don't want it to be too detailed. I want nice contrasts between light and dark, and I want the house to really shine through. So, simple story. Okay, sometimes it changes while you're painting. You change what you actually want out of it. You might think to yourself, I want it to be all about this fence, but then it doesn't work out so well, and you think, okay, maybe I can emphasize this, or maybe you change what you want halfway through. That's completely fine. Sometimes this helps as well. We see these little branches and stuff that I'm putting in here. What happens is, often when you're painting in watercolors, you're reducing complexity in the reference photo. So you at times need to add in details, extra details. This roof is a bit complicated, but yeah, look, we'll make do with it. I think we're actually ready to get started. A simple drawing, and you can see I've focused a lot on that fence. Okay, and the fence again is just something that I wanted to emphasize. Okay, great. Lots of people here in the chats. Yeah, this was. I do these once every month. I love doing these sessions. It's good today that the stream is going fine. The last stream, guys, when I was running it, I had so many headaches. It just kept disconnecting 3 or 4 times through the session. So Fingers crossed. Got Cindy from Costa Rica, Loretta from Scappoose, Oregon. Hope I pronounced that. And good to see you again, Loretta. Now, I hope you guys are going okay. Let me know in the chats if you need any more help, because I'm going to get started with the painting soon. We've got Jill as well, first time joining. Welcome, Jill. Jill Radke. And Janelle Henderson as well from Belize. Welcome, Janelle. And Julie Davidson from Las Vegas. Awesome. And I think that's it, because we've got a few people on, on watching from different areas, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube. So now I did say that there was a two-step process that I paint. So I will show you my process. I'm just going to change the camera focus so that it doesn't move around and bug everyone while I'm painting. Just going to increase the brightness as well. Okay, so it just makes it a little easier to see what colors I'm using when I'm painting. I have to fiddle around with it at times because the drawing is often just better when it's darker. So now, it's kind of tricky to show you my palette. It doesn't quite fit in the entire frame, but I'm just going to, perhaps I'll just show you what, the palette I'm using is. So it's this thing here, okay? A lot of colors here, but you're not going to need them all. The main ones you're going to need is basically yellow, green, maybe a little bit of brown, yellow, green, brown, a bit of blue for the sky. Having a little bit of red as well is good. It just allows you to drop. You can sometimes drop a bit into the other colors to create a warmer version of that color. But having just basically your primaries, red, blue, and yellow, most important, because you can mix your greens together with your yellow and your blue. If you want to make a darker green, add more blue and less yellow. If you want to make a lighter green, add more yellow and less blue. I always like to simplify things, and although I've got quite a few colors in here, you'll notice I'm only going to be using a few of them, probably 5 if any. I've got some convenience colors here. This is like black. This is neutral tint. Neutral tint is just a mix of all your primaries, yellow, red, and blue. So it's kind of a gray color, and it's good for a lot of the dark areas. If you look at that reference photo, you'll notice behind the fence, underneath the house, there's lots of darks under there. So we want to make sure that we get some of those in, and just find that to be easy. But again, just use your 3 primaries, mix them together, get a nice juicy mix of a dark color. So for the sky, I'll be using some cerulean blue. Okay, but first things first, let's go straight into the house. Actually, before I even get into doing any of these greens, I always like to do the yellowy parts first, because it's so hard once you get in the greens to go back again and everything starts looking green. So yellow first, and kind of thinking with the house. Let's have a think. It's kind of like grayish, isn't it? You just pick up. I've got a bit of leftover gray on the palette. Just drop in a bit here. Just because it's gray as well doesn't mean we have to stick with it. Okay, but I'm just going to put in a bit of gray, a bit of this stuff, yellow ochre here. Okay, I want that sense of light to be a bit more apparent. I mean that the warmer quality of light to be a bit more apparent. Okay, so the mix of color I'm using in here is very, very light. Yeah, it's just it's 5 to 10% of actual paint. And why am I using so little paint? It's so that we can really emphasize that sense of light. Okay, and I've got different yellows, and some of the yellows you'll notice are very vibrant. Like this yellow here, it's very vibrant. It's like a Hansa yellow. Okay, a bit of Hansa yellow here and here. And all I'm doing is just picking out some areas And it's kind of all the way through the building anyway. It doesn't matter. We'll just get some in the building underneath here. We are just getting in the light of the scene. Okay, that some more of that grayish color perhaps over here. Okay, very, very light wash. You almost, it's almost imperceptible. Lower the brightness as well on my light, so you can just see. That looks quite accurate as to how it does anyway in person. Okay, on the top of the roof, I'm going to add in a tiny bit of burnt sienna, which is basically a reddish brown. Okay, but a light part of it, and some of that grey. And again, if you don't have grey, just pick up your three primary colors: red, yellow, and blue. I almost keep saying green. I've forgotten my primary colors. And then just mix them together, and you can get a nice light grey. And remember, at this stage, guys, do remember to go as light as possible. It looks funny because, you know, there's no darks in here yet, but we'll add all the darker colors in later, and all the shadows and stuff like that. But just remember to hold off putting in any sort of darks, areas that are just too dark in there. Okay, we just want to indicate what we're doing here is we're painting the light, and I always sort of structure my paintings into just that same structure, I suppose. Yeah, so just painting the light, painting the dark areas, and then painting perhaps at the end some final touches. Sometimes I just like to get a little spray bottle out like this and just spray it down, and it keeps the painting looking, give me a little bit more time before the everything dries off. I'm going to do this fence now with a bit of brown and a bit of yellow mixed into it. Okay, and one of the things we have to really remember as well, I've almost forgotten, is to make sure that it's nice and light. Okay, so going over the top of these, and don't worry if it goes out of the lines as well, because at the end of the day, we're going to be creating an extra darkness in the background, so it doesn't quite matter. But just for your simplicity's sake, I try to just go over that area that I need to. But because the background is darker, it doesn't really matter. Okay, there we go. Just a bit of color on it, just brownish color. And this will dry off like quite light as well. Watercolors, one thing you have to keep in mind is that everything does dry a little lighter once you finish. So you kind of got to make up for that by darkening a bit. Let me just spray that house down a touch. Just add a bit of water in there. Bit of yellow. There's a bit of pencil shavings for some reason in there. Bit of yellow. Let's just drop some in here. You'll notice actually the house is made of some kind of like wood, and it's got a yellow, very warmish tinge to it. Okay. Wonder if I can get some little bits of grayish bits and pieces here, like thatching or whatever. So I've just got a little brush here. This is called a fan brush. Just a little. It's got these funny little bristles on it like that. But if you don't have something like that, just use whatever. And I'm just feathering in a bit of this stuff, a bit of this grey color into the rooftop, just to get in some like light streaks, indications of something in here. And because the area is still wet, it's just going to melt in and not cause too much of a fuss. Of course, actually, like a lot of the detail we'll just do later. But this is, a tiny bit of that wet detail, as you can see. Yeah. So that's looking okay. Let's go ahead and start putting in some of the color for the ground and the trees and stuff like that. Now, all the trees and the sky and the ground, we're pretty much just going to get in with one wash. Okay, I'm going to use, what have we got here? Just a mop brush. In the ground, I'm going to use some of this color. It's called Buff Titanium, which is like an off-white color. And I'm just going to mix a bit of yellowy, just a bit of yellow in there, and with a bit of that off-white color to get in the ground. And where's my spray bottle? Just respray this a tiny bit. This will speed up the process. So just like this, cut around that figure a touch as well. Okay. It looks weak in terms of the colors in here at the moment, but that's what you want, because we haven't even got in the dark bits first yet. I mean, so there we go. Bit of that darkness here in the ground, light. I mean, must be half asleep. Here we go. Bit here, and I've got a few different greens, but the one I'm mainly going to use is this one here. It's just called Undersea Green. It's like a granulating green. Mix up your own greens as well. And just a bit of that in the background like that. Here, testing. Here as well, there's a lighter sort of tree. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix up a lighter green. More yellow in there. Let's just drop that in here. How's that look? Not bad. Bit more yellow or something in there. Look a bit too vibrant. Let me put in some yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is just a more subdued green, and I find that just tends to look a bit more subdued. I want that tree to blend a tiny bit with the house as well, so I'm just spraying the paper. Okay. You'll notice, for those of you who've been watching me for some time as well, that I love to paint in wet. Don't know, it's just something that I enjoy. Just more of a style that I like, letting sort of shapes blend into each other. But also I think it brings out some of the most unique qualities of watercolor. So this tree behind the house here is a little darker. Okay, just put in a bit of that tree. Some of it's starting to go into the house. I don't want that. So dab off a bit of that paint there. I'll probably redo that later. There. Just soft and lighter colors, yeah? So I don't know what I was saying before. All of this just joins together into one clump of whatever, trees. And it's mostly just water. It's almost all just water. Okay, that down like that. You'll notice even on the ground there's some greens like here. Let's put in some more. And I'm only really just using one green, but just different mixes of it. Okay, here there's on the ground here some greens. I'm trying to leave that fence till a bit later, and the reason why is so that it just dries off, so I can get in some just some separation in the back. A bit here in the center will be fine, just a bit here. These larger sections, just a little bit of, whoops, tissue will be good here. Lift off. Okay, we're not painting any of the darker areas yet, so no need to worry. Okay, just a little bit of that green in between it. Bring this down a touch here as well. There we go. Bit more here. All these greens here to the left are very, very light and vibranty because they've been, hit by the sun. Okay, just cut around that fence a little bit. It's tricky. Here we go. And here's the ground, which is basically just grass. more of this green I'm picking up and water dropping through here. Okay. Show you a little cool little trick as well that you can play around with in here to just create extra textures. But let me just get in this larger section off in the back as well, like this first. Okay, like that. And just creating a bit of this effect here for this large clump of trees or whatever at the back. It's just one big shape. Okay, join it all up. Join it all up. And notice I'm going a bit darker as well. Tiny bit darker in the back. I feel you need to color in everything too. You can leave parts of it in, parts of the paper, like the white of the paper exposed too. Now, before everything dries, I'm going to pick up some cerulean blue, which is yeah, just a nice kind of light blue. Put that in the sky. Might actually use another brush. That one's just mixed in with all kinds of bits of green in there, so drop that in. There we go. Let's just look at that. It's just a very light bit of blue, and I want this to mix in with the trees a little if possible. Okay. Bit of water, tiny bit of water. Just carry this down where the roof is. Notice how everything kind of blends together a bit. That's what you're looking for. I mean, here everything's dry to touch, but everything blends kind of, yeah. Here, not 100%, but that's all right. I'll make do with that. That looks all right. Very light colors as well. So almost our first wash done, but I will show you a few little tricks, okay? Linda Dayton asks, will this be recorded and I'm working? Yes, it is, so it will be available afterwards. If you have any other questions, let me know. We've got some nice chats going on YouTube, and Kizzy Cat is here. Good evening from Oklahoma. Welcome, Kizzy Cat. And I don't think I've seen you before, but happy to have you here. So, you know, before everything dries, I want to show you something cool. Something that was for me a game changer in watercolors, and that's some of this wet and wet stuff, implying details through wet and wet. And so I'm just re-wetting the paper a little bit with the spray, and I have to do this actually, and sometimes I don't have to do it because you know, especially in Melbourne, the weather here is usually pretty wet and cold anyway, but today it's really hot, so everything started to dry. Re-wetting it. Just get some more. And what we can do is we can pick up like other brushes. For example, you know, I had that fan brush before, but not just that. I've got other brushes like, you know, these other smaller weird ones, and I can just pick up, for example, a bit of green off the side of the page palette, and just sort of tap it onto and flick some of this onto the page like this. Okay. Flick some of that paint on there. Oh, didn't mean to do this one, but just get rid of that. This will just create little speckles of stuff. Sometimes even just picking up clear water and flicking that water through here will create some interesting little effects. Okay. Okay, Helen's got a really good question here. You guys might want to listen in on this one. Helen asks, how do you decide whether an edge should be soft and when it should be sharp? Well, I always decide based on the reference photo. Like obviously if you want to create something similar to the reference photo, I think you've got to learn how to recognize soft and sharp edges. There's actually a lot of hard edges on this scene. So if we look, for example, underneath the roof. The roof has got this light, and then underneath the roof there's a lot of darkness. So that's a sharp edge. The sharp edge behind the house, and the trees and the house form sort of sharp edges. You've got the shadow on the ground that's kind of sharp, but also soft in some parts, like behind there. But the things like the grass, a lot of soft edges in there. That's why I'm doing this sort of flicking around stuff in here, and bits and pieces like that as well, where you can maybe imply some little bits of detail and that kind of thing in here. I find putting too many like sharp edges in the grass can just make things look too overworked. It's the last thing you want, to just have things just look like they're forced. So that's why I try to like paint everything in one go usually, if possible. But this is a little thing that this is something I do, just getting little bits of paint and dropping it in while the page is still wet. Okay. And you can see here it's indicating some little, just some little bits of grass or whatever. So I hope that answers your question. And we've got Jill here, Jill Walker, Melbourne first timer. Welcome, Jill. Good to see you today. And it's quite a nice sunny day today. So afterwards, I'm probably going to go out, get some lunch, and find something to do. Okay, look at this, just little bits of something in here. All right, you don't even have to put green stuff. You can put a bit of brown even, like in there as well. Okay, but can you see how that's starting to, I don't know, look like there's details in here? So that's how I do it, little wet bits and pieces. Obviously I'm using like different brushes in here as well. When it starts, especially over here, it's getting a bit, I'll just re-wet that area. Today it's just so warm in Melbourne, so, or at least it's warm in my apartment. So having to just respray everything a lot. Okay, and what I'm doing is that I'm kind of trying to just draw out the boundary of this path and the bits and pieces here in the back. Not the back, sorry, the path. Okay, and not just that, but in the trees you'll notice there's some darkness in here. We've got a bit of darkness here. I'm just picking up a bit of darker green, and why not? Let's drop in some of that in here. Okay. And you again, coming back to the question that was asked before about soft and hard edges, you see the trees where they hit the sky, they have a kind of, they have a sharper edge in there. I'm just trying to use this old brush, this old like round brush I found here to indicate some of this tree like that. And it's a really dark sort of paint. So I'm talking about at least 50% paint. I'm still dropping it into this wet area, mind you. Okay. Sue's got a question. What are the best brushes to use? Are there a brand of paint you prefer? Sue, the best brushes to use in watercolor, essentially, like, you don't need too many. You'll find some companies will try to sell you like a set of 25 brushes or something. You only need about 3 or 4. Most of the brushes I'm using are just these watercolor mop brushes. They have a large belly, which means they hold a lot of water, so you can get in large areas, things like that. And also you can get in details because they have a sharp sort of tip. And I use like small synthetic brushes like this round brush to get in detail. And I do have a couple of these little specialty brushes, which are synthetic brushes I got in a pack. It costs like about a couple dollars each. And I just use these to try to create some effects. Sometimes you swap around the brush to get in a different a different shape or something that looks more varied, I find that it helps. So for example, here I'm putting in, there's just some darkness or whatever. I don't want to use that same brush, just a personal preference, or you can, again, you can just use the round brush and do the same thing with it too. But yeah, I like to kind of experiment around with different brushes and see what it does at times. Okay, I'm going to redo this edge here, just this edge on the side of that house. Make that a bit sharper. Okay, good. That needs to be redone a bit, but yeah, a little bit of this wet and wet. Now we're not trying to get in all of the darks in here. I'm just trying to get in kind of like some of the mid-tones. And your mid-tones are basically, as the name as it implies, it's kind of just they're neither the darkest areas of the scene and they're neither the lightest areas of the scenes. But you need to have some of them in there. Otherwise, you just get contrasts that are too kind of stark. They just look really light and really dark. But if you have some of this stuff going through there, it just eases the transition between light and dark, and actually creates more this illusion of extra detail. Okay, it's just building up of detail that is really important with watercolors. And what we're doing here is we're actually layering, but we're using wet and wet to layer. Okay, and when we're painting wet into wet, you'll notice you get all these soft edges in here. It's very hard to detail in wet and wet, and the point is not to get in all the little shapes and tiny bits of intricacies in here. It's get in general shapes and look and focus on the dark areas, the really dark areas as well. Find areas of contrast. Here, these shadows and things on the ground, I'm not going to touch them. I think I'll just leave them. For later. Because knowing me, I'll stuff it up trying to simplify, use as few layers as possible. And this is like a kind of a great way, because we're still painting in one layer, but we just keep re-wetting it, okay, in order to get in extra little bits of detail. And I want to leave a lot of this stuff in here, actually, for right in the end of the painting, the softness here. And why do I want to get the softness? Because I kind of have this plan to contrast that with the sharpness of the fence. So if I have some softness here, some sharpness in the background, I think that'll look pretty cool. So, some parts of this have already dried again. It's quite surprising. It's just having to re-wet constantly. Okay, little layering, and then you can start to see, kind of looks a bit like grass, yeah? I mean, use your imagination. Looks a bit grassy, doesn't it? Maybe not, but I think so. Here, this path, we've preserved this path, but you can see the grass kind of overtaking parts of you can see the grass overtaking parts of it as well. So yeah, just have fun with this and kind of fiddle around with the paints and drop in bits and pieces in here. You can only do this technique while the paint is still wet as well, and you want to make sure you're dropping in a higher concentration of paint into this area while it's still wet. Okay, I think I've been kind of doing this for too long now. Let's go ahead. We'll give this a dry, Actually, before we give this a dry, let's go ahead and get in some detail on this figure. I don't think, what color should we paint this figure? Actually, forget it. Let's just leave the figure. We'll decide on the color of it later. I've got a hairdryer, so I'm going to pause the audio for a bit and just dry it off. Okay, that's all dried off now, and we are roughly halfway through, or probably more than halfway through the painting. I'll just make sure I address some of these questions. I got a bit carried away before Sue. I forgot to answer the last part of your question. So you asked about brushes. Is there a brand of paint you prefer? Not really. Like, I use a whole bunch of different brands. Daniel Smith, Schminker. I use an Australian brand here called Art Spectrum. For those of you in Australia, they've been a bit hit and miss lately, actually. Like, I've used a few of them in the past and the quality was great, but lately I've found like a couple of them, the binders and the consistency of the paint is a bit weird, but it's well priced in Australia and generally good quality. So recommend that if you're on a budget as well with your paints in Australia, grab some Art Spectrum. Otherwise, yeah, there's so many options. As long as it's artist grade watercolor paint, you can't go wrong. I think the paper is more important, and Angela Lyons is asking about the brand of paper. So I use a brand of paper called Baohong, and it's Baohong, and that's also available quite commonly in Australia in some of our shops. It's 100% cotton watercolor paper, and it comes in this kind of medium texture, and it comes in 3 textures: hot press, cold press, which is medium texture, and rough. So if you can manage to score yourself some 100% cotton paper, that it really goes a long way, because you can do all this stuff here. See all this wet and wet work. I find when you're using paper that's not cotton, maybe like I don't know, like a cellulose paper or just normal paper, it's very, very difficult. You can't get in these nice little gradations, and the paint I use also granulates, so you can see it dries kind of like mottled in areas, and the pigment dispersion is not 100% even. I like that, especially when painting nature sort of scenes. So I hope that answers your questions. Yeah, if anyone else has questions, do let me know. We're going to finish this one off and put in all the shadows and stuff like that. And I'm going to pick up a smaller brush. It's just a little round brush I've got. And we're going to look and find ourselves some of the really dark areas in this painting that we want to imply. Let's just go in like here. Okay, a little bit here. And we've got like this kind of, what is it, in the background, like darker trees. And I've got just a higher concentration of paint. It's a lot of probably 50 to 60% paint, green in here. And I'm just feathering in a bit of this darkness into the trees in the background like that, okay? But I'm also leaving out some light for this nice kind of greenish area there. What do I have? I also love to use this brush here, which is a kind of like a flat-edged brush, flat brush. Sometimes you can just get some nice little edges. I'm also being a bit more careful as we come closer to the house too. Like here, okay, closer to the house, because we just want to imply something going on in there. Okay, so I'm just picking out some areas to darken. Not all, the areas, but one of the most important things is trying to leave in the previous washes, some of the previous washes. Okay, but I do want to make sure I've got enough darkness in here, and enough broad sort of brush strokes too. I've got some purple and I'm mixing that in with my green. In fact, I probably should get some more green. Running out. Got a few different greens, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to grab the lids, colours sealed on. Jeez, when you don't open these for a while, they just get stuck. Squeeze a bit on there. This is a little bit of a different green, I believe, like a kind of like a bluish green, something different. And I actually will subdue that down with a bit of yellow. Okay, let's have a look. Good. So just want to get in these little brush strokes, not little but larger ones, running through for this section of the trees, but trying to leave in also some of the previous wash in there. Okay, and you can see also there's like kind of darker bits here too. I can pick up a bit of of this color and the same color and create some little contrasts here behind the trees, and you can see it's actually like pretty dark in some of those areas. Yeah, so I'm just creating extra darkness in here, cutting around these lighter trees in the front, and I'm also kind of working from the top down to ensure it just makes it easier when I'm working from the top down. Sometimes the paint runs down the page, and if you've got this sort of structure, it kind of pulls at the bottom and dries more consistently. So there we go, just a bit of that. It's kind of like a bit darker in some areas, isn't it? Just dropping in extra darkness in areas here or there. I'm not interested in getting in all the tiny little details in there. I'm just trying to imply what's happening. But really what we're doing now is we're trying to get in the darkest parts, the darkest elements of our painting. And, I've also got this stuff. It's kind of like black color as well. I've got a bit of black and brown. And I'm just using that in some areas to just get some warmth. So, for example, here on the house, there is some darkness in the rooftop here. So I can just try and get that in, something like that. You can see it just cut around this darkness. This is a sharp edge, by the way. Okay. And coming down like this. Trying not to be overly obsessive about this area. Okay, that. You've got kind of these little, you see these little thatching areas that sort of run down the side of the building. It's very dark. It's like just picking up some black. If you don't have black, just use neutral tint. And I'm just like feathering it in here, like yeah, just like feathering it in. Okay, I'm not interested in trying to get every little bit of detail in here, but you can see just some of the directionality I'm implying with these. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like thatching or something. Looking and trying to identify some of the dark bits. So I can see some like here, like there. It kind of comes down like there. And of course, underneath there, it's like completely dark under there. Okay. Great. Of course, there's little bits like that run across like there. You know, there's like another little line that runs like there. In here as well, little line like that. Just small details, yeah. I'm not trying to get in much. And probably the most important thing is just underneath that house, it's like pretty dark. So I'm using like a lot of paint. I've also got purple. I think purple makes a great dark. So I will create extra darkness here. Look, where's that? And this is the part I was sort of getting fussing about. The fence, you want to cut around it, leaving the light on there. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just cutting around parts of it. Okay, not being too precious about it either, but you know, giving it enough attention to that you know, enough attention there. That this whole shadow underneath the house kind of goes all the way over to the left. Underneath, it just extends through, doesn't it? Kind of goes through here as well, like that. You know, I'm just trying to do this pretty quickly as well because I know spend too much time on it, it will look too forced. So just cutting around the fence. Okay. Underneath the house as well, you have like little dark areas. So I'm just gonna get myself a bit of paint in there, and you'll notice there's little bits of light too. Little bits of light. So when you're doing these darker bits, don't be afraid to leave out some little highlights in there. Bench or whatever it is here in the front, it's got like a highlight. You know, this whole area is just pretty much darkness behind it, and then the front you've got bits here, a bit of light there. You know, this it looks like a ladder, a tiny little ladder or something like that. I'm just implying it, yeah. There's not much in the way of detail there. I'm just trying to imply what's happening. This is kind of convenient because there's a shadow coming to the right, coming in from the right. So look at that, just getting in. And I find like this brush that I'm using, this flat brush, is great for bits of work like this. Some more purple. Let me get a little bit more purple here. Okay, darken that down there. We got in. Sometimes, yeah, leaving in these bits of white and stuff, or just the previous wash in there, these sparkles and stuff, it actually creates a sense of detail. That's not, I mean, it's not really there, but it helps to imply that there's something perhaps going on. And, you know, I'm trying to create like more larger contrast where these like benches or whatever stick out. But again, it's tricky. There's a lot of detail going on in here, and especially for a beginner, it can be quite a pain to get in these small bits and pieces. So just remember, as long as you got a little kind of, what do you call it, thing going on in the background, like a little bit of light coming off there, it should be fine. Okay. Often, what you leave out is just as important as what you paint in watercolors. So here we go, just around this side as well. Draw a bit of that darkness in here, and trying to use as few brush strokes as I can. If I can do this in one, that's better. Done that in one. Let's try here. Yeah. But actually this one is not so dark. I've forgotten. That's okay. I will just lift off a bit of paint there. And maybe carry a bit of it out to the top like this. Good thing is you can also, yeah, just add in some little branches and stuff. Like we were drawing some branches in before, so I'll imply some coming through here, like that. Helps to break up all this light in there too. And because I accidentally put in a lot of, you know, darkness in the back in that sort of section there, I hope this will help to, yeah, just make sense of that. Okay, a little bit of sharp, dark area in there. You know, this large bush or something as well, that there is, you know, there's branches coming through here. Let's get some in darker bits of branches. Okay, and branches, you always got to remember with the branches is that they come out in these like kind of sets of 2, sometimes 3. So you have 1, and then that splinters off into 2, you know. And so you just, I don't know, I just wing it. And sometimes with my sketchbook, I just pull out the sketchbook and I will just practice these branch-like shapes. Okay. I don't want to overdo it as well. It's, you know, you can tend to get, well, for me anyway, I can tend to get a bit overly excited over these trees and things. You know, even in the background, there's so much going on, isn't there? You kind of have to pick and choose your battles and think to yourself, you know, what's most important? What's the most important thing I want to portray in here? Do I want to get in every single little thing? Or do I want to remember what my vision is and get a nice little scene of a person walking through? Okay. And for the demonstration, normally I will actually finish off some of this afterwards, work on it again. This is more for you guys to see my general process. This needs to be darker, I think. No, there's like something here. I thought I would put in maybe another, I don't know, like a darker bush or something running behind this fence. Because I think it needs it to bring out some more of this color on the fence. Okay, good. Okay, I'll go back into that in a second. Let's do something on the right hand side. That's something I do as well. I flip from different sides when I get tired of working on one side, or if I feel like one side's just overly overworked. Okay, this is some dark bit here, and outlining that sharp edge again on the building there. So I use my finger at times and just soften it off if I feel like it's just too much. But one thing we have to do is make sure that this tree in the front is a bit more exposed. I want to make it that way anyhow, like that. But also making sure that I've maybe left in some light on the right side of it. Because if I leave some light in on the right side, it'll just indicate that light source better. Okay. There is a big shadow just running across the scene. Let's pick up, I'm going to pick up some purple, mix it in with some black and a bit of brown. I've got combinations of colors like that for the shadow. I tend to find that they're just a bit more interesting. So on the rooftop, actually, I mean, there's a really dark sort of shadow. Where should we put it? Somewhere here. This can be a tricky one. You got to just make sure it's in dark enough, but not overwhelmingly taking over the whole thing. Oops, like that. That. something like that. It's a sharp sort of shadow on the rooftop. You make it kind of look tree-like by sort of, you know, feathering out the sides of the shadows to just indicate, I don't know, some, like it could be leaves or something, indicating whatever the object might be. Loretta's asking a question, asking, do you plan where you use cool colors and warm colors? Yeah, so from the start of the painting, I was already thinking to myself, okay, like the house and the ground here, they're like really warm colors, right? So I always use those first, paint those bits in first. And then, you know, the rest of it kind of starts going towards the cool side, especially with the greens and the blues here in the sky. Even the shadows here, they're kind of cool. So there's not a whole lot of like warm colors in here, Loretta. But what I have to say is that instead of rather like, okay, like I do plan out what colors to use, but I also plan out what tones, like where the darks are, how dark I want to make those areas. I think that's something that's pretty important. You know, there's actually little shadows even on these benches or something like that as well. I just simplify them down. And on the ground, we have to make sure that the shadows have a source. So I'm just gonna indicate something running from the back. Okay, like this. There as well. The shadows are often kind of broken apart as well, so I try not to do them in like one large. Yeah, they are one large shape, but I'm kind of just leaving some of that background color in there as well. You know, get what I'm saying? Okay, across there. So it's really dark here in the background. It's getting some dark areas. Cut around that figure. Okay, and with watercolors, yeah, if you ever want to make things lighter, all you do is just add more water. And you can see I'm using very little water here for some of these sections in the background where I want to imply some extra details and things like that. The rooftop, there we go here, just like cut around. See there's a little edge. I've implied a little edge there. And I'm using a flat brush, which makes it kind of easier in that section. Drop a bit more color back here to exaggerate that edge on the house. Righto. So I had a bit of that darkness behind that figure that I've now managed to get in. Oh, I've lost my the colors that I was using before. There, we do have that shadow again. Let's get that in. It's like pretty. It just runs behind this figure, doesn't it? Like that. Off. Blah. Some of that there. Okay. Okay. We have one tree here, but then there's also another tree off in the background. I'm going to grab some brown and just imply like this side of the tree coming in like that. Okay. Some branches. Okay, here's another branch like that coming in. Okay. Like that. Let me get some more color here. Connect that up better. So yeah, some of this shadow, you want to know that it's originating from that tree, especially this large shadow on the roof. So that could be the shape maybe that casts that shadow. And then of course down on the bottom, we've got other shadows. There's one here. I'm going to just go whatever and put it in. Okay. there. Let's get in kind of the indication of it. Okay, running across the ground. It's pretty dark, but it's still transparent enough to see roughly what is happening. Okay, and this is something I've modified in the scene as well. So to create a more obvious, stark looking shadow in the foreground. I don't know whether I'll put one in there and the other side as well. We'll see. Yep. There we go. Just get that in. Maybe if I use this other brush, it'd be easier. Fiddling around too much with that other smaller brush. Okay. Good. That might actually make sense with this fence. A bit of shadow on the fence. Actually, you can see here, there, like that. Good. Soften some of the edges of the shadow if you'd like. Just add in a bit of water on some of the edges. But I think for me, I actually want most of it to appear a bit more sharper. And just let it kind of like dry off, looking a bit mottled in areas and stuff like that. You know, this is also a good time if you want to put in like little strands of grass and stuff. Pick up like a little brush and just do this. This is a fan brush. But you know, the reason why I use this as well is just a lot easier, so I don't have to draw in all the little blades of grass here. But if you've got a small brush, just use that. Same thing, but just take you a bit longer. You know, and there I'm feathering that in, so you can see in areas, right? And creating an effect of this grass, mixing in with the shadows a touch. There's a lot of water in here, by the way, for these little bits of grass, so not much paint. And I'm trying to like join it on a bit with the shadow, and yeah, just kind of make it as one, I guess. Bits and pieces here as well, maybe where this like figure's walking. Like that, just pretty quick. Yeah, I'm not fussing too much. I probably am, but there we go. Yeah, I don't want to put in another shadow here. I think I'm just gonna do it. Just gonna do it. Something like that. Soften the edges a touch here. There we go. Some more blades of grass and stuff coming up, cropping up in between. You'll notice as you move towards the front of a scene as well that, like I was saying before, in terms of perspective, things increase in size. So the bits of grass, you know, even in the reference photo, you can see that they're actually a bit larger and stuff down the front of the painting. Okay. We're just almost done. I'm thinking, what else do we need to add in here? I mean, there's lots of little finishing touches that I can put in here as well. Let's put in some of the details of the figure. There's only one in there, and the little dog. A bit of shadow. That's one thing I've forgotten, the shadow. So kind of start off in the legs like that. Just connect that the figure with the shadow to the left, and the dog as well. There's like a little something like that. Okay, so these shadows are running in the same direction. Okay, there, there. What color should we put in for the figure? It's the $1 million question. Probably probably just blue. I'm just gonna use some cerulean, or like I've got some other color here, which is like a purplish color. Let's just try that. Just a cool color, I think should be nice, like that. And I'll just soften off that right hand side so it just maybe appears like there's extra light on that right side of the figure. The legs, a bit of extra darkness. We'll just further emphasize the legs. Okay. Connect them up with the shadows a bit on the ground as well, like that. And just feather it up, feather that color up into the blue. Okay. You can even do things like indicate like a strap, a bag strap or something there, like this. Bit of hair, hair for the top of his head, bit of hair or something there. The dog, yeah, little tail on the back can still imply. Pick up a bit of black, and I'll just try to get in a little tail, maybe going up towards that right side like that. There we go. 2 legs seen from the back, and the ears. It's not the best. It's not the best little dog that I've done, but I mean it sort of looks like one if you use your imagination. Okay. Kind of looks like one, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. How are you all doing, everyone? I'm kind of been in my own world for a second. Let me know how you're doing. I think I'm wondering if the stream is going okay on YouTube as well. Yeah, it was kind of like saying some kind of error a while back. Is everything going okay on everything? Look, I think we're going okay. Righto. Cookie Kate, hope I pronounce your surname correctly, says, truly enjoy your work and your teaching. Thank you, Cookie. Shanolan, good to see you, Shanolan. And Pamela says, ping okay here. Thank you, Pamela. And good to see you here as well. It's been a while. Okay, stream looking good. Someone says, looks frozen. Okay, it's probably because I've stopped painting. Yeah. So, guys, we are just about almost done. Like for the remainder of this scene, I mean, really, we're really just picking out like bits and pieces of detail to put in here, and I often just do stuff like this, like underneath the fence. There's like a little bit of darkness, like there, here. Here, and I'll often break up the lines as well so that they're not all like the same. There's not too much of a sharp line running through the entire scene. So, sometimes I'll just break that up a little. And actually there's actually kind of shadow on these poles. If you look at them, there's because the light source is coming from the right hand side. The poles have these kind of like darker section behind them, like that. So just a little indication. I actually put one in here, but I won't muck around with that one too much. But you see what I've done there? All I've done is just emphasize the feeling of light, leaving out the light part and just kind of feathering in a bit of darkness for the shadow. These are just finishing touches that I add to things. Look at the rooftop. I mean, we've got all these. This is tricky, isn't it? let's see if we're brave enough, if I'm brave enough to figure this one out. Yeah, these kind of, I don't know what they are, but little thatching or things on the roof. I've dried my brush and put on a bit of like grey paint on there, and I'm just feathering it like down some parts like this. Okay. You know, on top of the roof here, there's bits and pieces, but I don't think I want to put in too much in there. It's just a pain. I don't want to spend all day doing that. So a little bit of texture on the rooftops. You do see some details up there as well. There's this like little, what is it? Like section, little bits that sort of stick out. And oh, that's no good. I kind of stuffed that one, but that's, just deal with it. Wasn't completely straight, like that. You can kind of see bits of it just poke out from the top of the roof. Yeah, trying to like figure out the direction in which they're. Some of them are kind of. And it's important to like dry brush these on if you're going to do them. They can get a bit rowdy. Look, just simplify it down. Yeah, I don't want to. It looks all right. So even some like bits here, like sort of put in a few dark bits there. Good. Where else do we have some darkness? Yeah, we're just, you know, as I said, we're just finding areas that I can sharpen up and darken off a touch. I mean, apart from that, it's pretty much almost done. This is like the finishing touches and where you can imply little details and things. You know, that wasn't there. This tree that I'm putting in, branch or whatever, that's certainly not there, but I'm putting it in anyway. There in the background. Here, I think another one here would be nice because we've got just, it needs to be broken up, that little section there. That shadow looks probably a little slightly too weak, but maybe a bit of water there and just spray that down a touch and just drop in a bit of extra color might help, like this. Yeah. Very hard to often estimate how something will end up drying, looking like once it's dried in watercolors. Let me just try to like get an extra contrast here for that figure. Okay. You know, some more darks here in the background like that. No, just again, I'm just improvising like that. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you've lasted this long as well, you've done a great job to stick around for this long, because you know, we've covered a lot today, and we've been here nearly, how long? Like nearly 2 hours, I'd say. And I really hope that you guys have learnt a lot. And I'd love if you could just hang around for just, you know, perhaps another 10, 15 minutes, because I'd like to talk about, always like to talk about some of the courses that I have on. This is something that I do. One of the things I do to make a living. And I have a whole bunch of courses that I think would be great for those of you who are interested in learning a bit more. If you've found what I've gone through today helpful, and perhaps you want a bit more detail, you want to learn a bit more about what I have out there, so would appreciate if you hang around a little bit. But if you are here, just again, if you have questions, let me know, and I'll get back to you. I'm having lots of fun, and I hope you guys are, and that is the most important thing. If you can enjoy, learn to enjoy painting, and in just the process of it, whether it turns out well or not, doesn't matter. If you just get yourself involved in the process, and for me, it's almost like a slightly meditative thing. Lose what I'm. It's the only thing I have going on in my head when I paint, and I find that's why I really like it, because my mind is always constantly busy with stuff. I've always been like that. I've always got just thinking about things all the time. It's hard to switch off. I know some people are like that as well, and that's why I found painting to be just such a great outlet for that, because while I'm painting, especially in watercolors, there's such urgency at the time to focus on what I'm doing, because especially with some of these wet and wet techniques, you've only got a little bit of time to do them. So in that moment, I think I'm just so focused and at the same time relaxed. Not always relaxed though. Sometimes, when things don't go the way that you want. But guys, I think that's pretty much it. Like a simple scene, probably not as simple as I thought it would be, but there's enough in there to imply what I wanted in my initial vision of this scene. Someone just walking their dog, and a nice green area in the back, and the light, quality of light there as well. And after I'm done with this demonstration, I'll keep on adding in little touches of detail here and there. But you know that most of it is done already. The bulk of the detail is in there with the light and the darks. So hang around for a little bit. I want to just go through a course, and of course, like there is a course that I run. Also, if you look in the description of the video, I run a Patreon, and there's 58 classes on there. If you go for the highest tier, the lowest tier is 28 classes. And those of you who are part of my Patreon already would have gotten a whole bunch of alerts last night, because I uploaded 8 different classes. So I often spend lots of time outside of these workshops just creating more and more content offline and putting them onto Patreon, and also through my Watercolor Essentials program. So I want to just show you a little presentation, and hopefully this will be of interest to those of you who are learning watercolors. So just give me one moment. I'll have to transition the scene over, but pop in the comments. Let me know how you went today. I really hope that you enjoyed the session, and that you found it helpful, more so. And if you have suggestions as well on other things that I could run, or other topics that you'd like me to cover next time, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So I'm sorry, I'm just mixing around on my screen, just making sure I've got all the screens up and available. I have put in the comments there if you want to check the link to my Patreon, if you would like to support me and would like to learn a bit more. But let me just switch over to the other screen. There we go. So this is a little bit, I just made a presentation on the program that I've had running. I've had this program running for quite some time now. It's been, I don't know how long. It's probably 2 years, 1.5 years or something like that. And it's just grown from there. It started out with only a few courses, and I uploaded them all, and it ended up to be like 30. Then I ended up just continuing adding on. Last night, added another 58. So my main course that I have, the Watercolor Essentials program, it's a 58 course program, and you do get access to it for a lifetime. So the platform that I use to upload all these demonstrations and all the courses, it's an independent platform, and I also have backups of everything as well. So I have them on different platforms. You get hundreds of hours of paint along demonstrations. So all the previous ones that I've run, apart from today, they're all on there. They're ads free. But in addition to that, I've also got 58 professionally prepared courses, and those are recorded separately from these ones. And a lot of them have over 6 to 8 demonstrations. That's one here you can see just in the photograph of a little lighthouse scene. Different style. I'm using a pen and wash technique. Okay, so there's, you got to learn at your own pace. It's not something that you have to attend and sit through. You can pause it, come back to it later. It's all done step by step, similar to how I've done today as well. So you can pause it, you can even slow down the video, and it's all narrated in real time. So some of the things that I think that beginners struggle with the most, I always try to make sure that I focus on these a lot with my courses. And, when you start painting, I think the biggest thing is just feeling confident. And when you don't know what you're doing, when you don't know how to layer, when you don't know what colors to use, what brushes to use, it can be so frustrating. And I remember starting out and I almost gave up. I thought to myself, it's just not meant for me. Maybe I just suck at this. And, that could be further from the truth, because a lot of the time, if you don't get the right advice and don't approach something in an appropriate way, I think you come to the wrong conclusion about yourself. And that's one of the things that really, really gets to me when I see people that give up too early when they have so much potential. So I want to make you more confident with your painting and help you understand things like perspective, what we went through today, where, drawing shapes and people, making sure that they make sense in your paintings, they look realistic. Also talk a bit about drawing, so you will understand how to draw in the context of a painting. It's very important to make sure your drawing is somewhat accurate to give you a better plan for your painting. Brush techniques and water control, something I always talk about in my courses as well, and part of this program. Knowing which brushes to use, how much water to put on that brush, because sometimes if you put too much water in that brush and try to do some wet painting, you're going to end up with a big bloom or just a mess. Tone is probably a tone or what am I trying to say? But tone, basically whether something is light or dark, is the magic component and is a game changer. A lot of people often ask me, what color am I using? But tone is actually the most important, knowing how light and dark something is to create a sense of accuracy in your painting. It's something that we don't often focus on. We just take for granted when we look out into the world, but actually we have to mimic when we're painting. So a lot of beginners paint with the same tone, and everything just looks flat. So it creates depth. I'll show you how to create depth. Layering, so I go through that process in many, many more demonstrations and in much more detail as well, to show you how to finish a painting with roughly 2 washes, okay? I'll show you which colors to use, and I'll talk a lot about vision as well, and I tend to talk about vision at the start of my courses and demonstrations. And the reason why is because if you don't have a good vision and understanding of where you're heading with your painting, you're basically flying blind. So, whether you focus on light, whether you focus on the dark areas of your painting and create more contrast, or maybe you want to create a better story in your painting as well. That's something that I go through quite a lot. So here's a few demonstrations and things that are included. And just have them up here. Basically, like here are a few portraits that are included. These are some of the loose landscapes that I do. A lot of these are done within 30 to 60 minutes. They're great for practice, not just practice, but also as a style if you guys are looking to loosen up your paintings. It depends how long I spend on them, but I tend to have a loose style anyway. I'm not a perfectionist, and I like the idea of giving people an impression of a scene, but not being too literal with everything, so that you can look at it and take out of it what you will, make your own interpretation. But there's still, it's still fairly interpretive, but just a bit looser. Here's some more, and I'm just going through them so you can see some of the demonstrations that are included. And these are only some of them, by the way. I haven't put all of them in there because you'll be sitting around here for all day. Some of them from a year ago, and some of them more recently. But I do create these courses very often. I upload new ones consistently each month. Here's some of my ratings. For those of you who don't really know me well, I think, it's probably a good idea. I thought this would be a good idea just to put in. I've got some of my ratings here on Facebook. So I do stream often, and I've got a 5-star rating here on Facebook. On different platforms, I sell my courses on different platforms, and they get 4.5 out of 5 stars on those platforms. Also teach on Skillshare too. Here's some of the reviews that I popped in there. So this program, back to the nuts and bolts of it. What's included with this program? So biggest thing is you get tailored feedback. If you have any paintings that you've done as part of this course, you can send them to me, and I will tell you what you've done well and what we can focus on. And that helps you to save time, because often when you don't get the right advice, you don't know which way to proceed. You're just flying blind. So that's something that I really like to do, and I give out advice all the time anyway in my groups. But with this course, with this program, I prioritize just getting to those questions. Sometimes it can just be too much. I'll be on the computer all day looking at all the other groups, so I actually prioritize this one for those of you who end up signing up for my course. Lets you learn how to think like an experienced watercolorist. So it's kind of what I was saying before. It's that metacognition, understanding how I think when I'm painting, so that you can then apply that to your own painting. And that's one of the most, I think, a game changer for me, like, just learning how artists think and what they're doing and how they're planning their painting. You do get access to a private group as well, and that gets you priority support. One of the great things is that you get access to all the future courses. Initially, I had about 30 courses in here, and there's 58. There's so much stuff in here. I think I've got students who've enrolled over a year ago, and they still haven't got through all of it. But I want to add as much value as I can to this course. Make sure there's something in there for everyone. There's portraiture, line and wash, and watercolor. Pretty much every subject that you can think of. Okay. Also got all the ads-free versions of these live workshops that I've run. So those of you guys who watch them on YouTube, you know that they just can ad play every now and then. That just helps me out to support the channel. But you get ads-free version here. So this is the price of it. There's a couple of ways that you can purchase it. So the $297 version, if you look in the link in the description, that gives you lifetime access. So it's like a one-time payment, and every future course that you add, that I add to the program, is included. So I think it's great value, especially because it just keeps increasing in courses over time. Another thing you can do is, if you're not sure, or you want to go by month, you can go into Patreon and sign up there, and you can get access to all the courses for $30 a month. There's also 2 other tiers, the $10 and $20 tier as well, and those are pretty good too. They have the most popular courses in there, so you can go and check them out. But I'd say probably the best value is that one. And if you're interested to have a look at it, just let me know in the comments, and I'll send you the link for it. I find a lot of people, when they create these, you see a lot of these courses online that are being sold, and adverts come up. And I've seen a couple recently where they're selling even just one course that maybe has about 5 hours of material, if any, for about $70. So if you think about this, 58 courses in here, hundreds and hundreds of hours. I can't even remember how much are in there. Some of the courses are nearly 20 hours long. So definitely get a lot of value out of it. And that's really it. That's all I have to say about that. You can see some of my paintings when I started out there. Look at that. It's frustrating even looking at it. But it's funny, and it's very... It's amazing to see how far I've come and how far I can potentially take you as well. And this is one that I did in a presentation the other day, a workshop the other day as well. A lot of wet and wet techniques. Really like that sort of stuff. So if you're interested, so Linda, I'll send you the link. Linda. And you can purchase it straight through that link. Normally, I sell this course for $497, but today, pop it up there for $297. So you can go through there, have a look at it. I'm going to revert the price back tomorrow. So it's a good opportunity to get in there. And again, you get support from me for a couple months, even after the 2 months. If you still need help, drop me a message and I'll do my best to answer your questions. I might take a little bit of time sometimes, but I always get back to people when they message me and ask for a bit of help or a bit of feedback on their work. So there you go. I've just sent that to you. I'll just send you it here. Okay. I'm just having a look. Who else is in here? Pamela. Yeah, Pamela's has signed up for this program as well, and trying to finish it and having fun doing it. There's lots in there, Pamela, and especially probably hard to keep up considering that I upload different ones every month. So there was another 8 that I uploaded last night. So go sign in and check it out again. There's more in there. I'm just going to go through the comments as well. I think I've missed out a few comments. I've been chatting and yapping away for some time now. Let's have a look. Yvette says this one is well planned and well executed. Really nice. Thanks, Yvette. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I tried to... I think I was a bit more relaxed today as well because the stream's going well. The internet's not dropping out or anything. And glad that you've learned a lot today. Thank you, Yvonne, for coming along too. And Margaret says, still here. Darren, love this one. Thanks again. Appreciate it, Margaret. I'm trying to do some more additional streams really during the I'm trying to do some additional streams during the week where I can. Just get rid of that. Oops, sorry. Let me get rid of this. There we go. So this is what we've done. This is what we've done today. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit and pop the brightness a touch, and so you can just see some of the little details. Okay, closer up. It's kind of tricky to see once you, but you can, look at that. Bits and pieces. You can see the shadows that I've got in here on the side as well. How far can I zoom in? There we go. Something like that. But it just goes to show, even in an hour, you can get in a decent little representation of a reference photo if you know what to focus on. Just having a look at the chats as well. There's a few people left, and if you have questions, certainly just let me know. Carol was asking, enjoyed, where's the spot of red? Where's the spot of red? So I'm not sure what you're referring to, Carol. If you could clarify, I'll answer your question. Spot of red, I'm not sure what, maybe I did mention it before, but I can't remember. Maybe let's have a look. Loretta says, great job. Thank you, Loretta. That's a wonderful composition from Ramesh. Appreciate it. And, I did change the composition around slightly and add more shadows and push the house further out to the back as well. I wanted to, just make that a bit more low key, make that house a little bit more low key. And Cookie says, I left and came back and all was working fine then. Thank you for asking. Okay. Alan says, thank you, nice work. Love how you leave the details of the lighting and shadows. Yeah, that's the big thing. Leaving out is more important at times in actually painting. And there's a lot I think I can still do here and spend some time adding in details afterwards. But, the main the main areas and ideas are in there. And totally, Solan, good to see you as well. Solan says, totally agree with the process of learning. Jill says, mine now looks like a cross between an old heritage railway station and a jailhouse. Definitely nothing like yours, but a fun process, and the first time I've attempted putting a figure into a painting. Well done, Jill. You've tried something new, and I think you've had faith to the persistence to make it through to the end, and that's the it's great spirit. Let's have a look if there's anything. There's a few more. Linda says we'll sign up. Well, I think I've already replied to your comment, Linda. Thank you. Just having a look. There's a few people still left here. Alice B says, thank you for sharing. I enjoy your painting. Thank you, Alice. And glad to have you here today. It's been 2 hours. Pamela, I think might still be around. Robert Karp says, thank you, Rob from Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining, Robert. Are you new here? I think I've seen your name before, but hope you enjoyed the session for today. Do let me know, guys, if you have any other questions about my course, the Patreon that I have up here, and or just any questions about today's session. Otherwise, I'll probably end the stream in a bit. I think today's went pretty well, and next time I'm gonna do something a bit more different. Another probably a scene that's not something that I haven't commonly done before. Maybe of a different country or different styles of houses or something like that. So I think that's about it, guys. Just going through. All right. But if you're watching along later, just drop me a message in here if you have any questions. It's good to see there's a few of you still left in here. You've done really well to hang around to the end. Solan says, thank you, love the challenge. You're welcome. Thanks for coming along, Solan, and always good to see you. Always good to see you each month. Alrighty, I'm going to stop the stream now. Thank you all for coming along, and I'll see you next time.